Hello and welcome to the Synergy Sanctum. This is our series focused on positive life coaching lessons with Squee the Immortal, where we aim to provide everyone with awareness and coaching that is focused on identifying your goals and your values, ensuring that the steps you take on your own adventure are aligned with that return on time that you are seeking, and sharing countless strategies focused on positive mindsets, resilience, and flourishing as a person each and every day. Let's get into today's episode. So, building on this habit conversation, I'm sure most people are aware of James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and I'm going to kind of provide some awareness around this if you're not aware, or kind of go into how James Clear proposes you can actually apply specific practices to achieving better habits. So we kind of have this foundation from William James of how habits are created. We want to give them to like no thought, right? We want to basically have them occurring. We want to submit to that and be okay with that and reflect that, like, okay, if I'm doing this, it's going to ultimately be okay because this habit is leading to the growth and the values that I want to achieve in life, or the goals that I have. And then similarly, if we want to commit to something, it seems difficult to commit to something entirely new, especially if I have so many years of habits in the opposite direction. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, what steps can I take? It's well and good to say I need to commit and not have exceptions, but what does that mean for like the average person? What does that mean for how I can ultimately like start taking the steps to move past this? So building on this idea of risk versus reward, if I am more often than not choosing to engage in risk, and this is a risk to engage with, and I don't want to deal with this, it's not something that I want to do, then I'm creating habits of fear in that state, right? So like my habits are basically being defined by how I react in moments of uncertainty and moments of risk and moments of fear. Whereas if I choose to create habits based off of potential rewards, then I'm basically creating habits of learning and growth, and I'm willing to engage in things. I'm willing to develop beyond who I am, or I'm willing to take risks if there's learning or growth that's going to occur at the end of it. And whether that's a physical, like tangible reward, or something that's like an internal motivation that's filling my cup, I don't care about like taking the steps towards that path, because I'm committed to the potential rewards that are going to come after it. For those that aren't aware, habits take 66 days to form. So 66 days to form a new habit and 66 days to break an existing habit. So that is over 2 months of time that you need to be committing to the new habit or breaking of the old one. You need to be holding yourself accountable to not having excuses and putting yourself into situations where you are making decisions and taking the actions that are filling the path that you are trying to achieve, in either creating the new habit or breaking a habit that you don't want to have anymore. So that is a lot, right? That is a lot of willpower. If we go back to Kowalski, like, it is going to take so much willpower to commit to something that I'm choosing to do. Like, this has nothing to do with all the other tasks that you have to do, all the other tasks that you might want to do, like work, sleep, everything else on top of that. Now you want me to take on just like this whole new thing that may lead to potential rewards, but isn't like completely breaking me, right? And I think that is the really important thing to understand here, is how much your mindset is going to impact your behaviors as well as like behavioral change, right? So your mindset is going to either validate or challenge your current behaviors, how you're interacting in the world, how you interact with people, the decisions you make, what you're pursuing for work, what you're trying to achieve in life. All of that is impacted by your mindset and willingness and motivation to do so, right? And then on top of that, if I'm going to change those behaviors now, it's even more difficult, because now I'm intentionally putting my mind into that risk versus reward scenario more often than not, right? So I'm like mentally taxing myself on the intent and the hope that I grow out of it better, right? So like it takes a lot for a person to do this, and it takes a lot to build a new habit. And James Clear goes into a very easy way to achieve this, right? And it seems impossible to take on something entirely new, or like a new habit, or this is crazy, it's too much, I don't want to do this. But James proposes this idea that you should be breaking out your commitments and your actions into smaller chunks, right? So smaller measures of success along the overall path to the new habit, or the overall path to breaking the existing habit. So one of the main ideas in Atomic Habits is that small incremental changes, when consistently applied, are ultimately leading you to daily measures of success. So it's this idea of like catching yourself doing something right. It's this idea of like being willing to like analyze your successes and measure the impact of those successes against your overall goals, and creating a new habit is a goal that you have in that time and during that moment. And all of this leads to like measures of success, right? So it's like positive validation coming in because we're taking these small steps to achieve this, right? So maybe if we go back to like the example about getting in shape, right? If I want to get in shape, I want to commit to a habit where every day I'm waking up and I'm going on a 1 mile walk. Maybe I start with like, I'm going to get up tomorrow and do a 1 mile walk, right? So even though my whole habit that I'm trying to achieve is a consistent thing happening 7 days a week, it's happening like unconsciously, I don't even have to like think about it, right? And like maybe that is what I'm trying to achieve, but I'm going to have the measure of success for this be tomorrow, right? So I'm making it now less work. It's more feasible to be achieved, and it's something that I'm more willing to go into, because the only ask for me, the only ask to sit in that state of like uncertainty and risk versus reward is you got to get up tomorrow and go on a 1 mile walk. You can do this, right? Versus for the next several weeks of the rest of my life, 50 years, I'm doing this every day. That seems way scarier and way more risk than tomorrow.